By now you're familiar with the choices for building an application. There are a set of tools in Visual Studio 2008 that you will most likely interact with no matter what type of application you are building. Let's do an around-the-world tour of each of the core tools, beginning with the Server Explorer. Let's launch Visual Studio 2008. The Server Explorer is located on the left-hand portion of your screen by default. If you don't see it, select View, Server Explorer, or hit Ctrl-Alt-S as a shortcut. Note, I'm using General Development Settings in my environment. Later in this series, we'll cover these environment settings, but keep in mind, if you're using different environment settings besides the General Development Settings, you might see different types of shortcuts that are available. In the General environment, you will see Ctrl-Alt-S, or for all environments, you can select View, Server Explorer. Optionally, you can pin the Server Explorer by toggling the Auto Hide button. It can actually collapse itself to give you more real estate, or using the tab, you can select the Push Pin option to keep the Server Explorer present at all times. The Server Explorer allows you to manage your server and services on a particular machine. In this case, we're dealing with one machine, called Total PC. If you had access to other machines, you'd also see them listed here. By expanding and collapsing the nodes, you can iterate through the different services and servers that are available on that particular machine. Let's examine what we have available. As you can see, on this machine, we have Crystal Reports, Event Logs, Management Classes, Management Events, Message Queue, Performance Counters, and Services. If I had other services or servers installed on this machine, I would also see them here. Let's drill into some of these. For example, one best practice is to have a centralized exception log. A lot of times people will use the Windows Event Manager to store the information captured in their logs. You can actually view these events by looking at the Event Log option. Expand this node. You can see the different logs that are stored on this machine. The application log will allow you to look at different applications and how they behave on the system. I can see any errors or exceptions that were produced based on the application that I wish to examine. In this case, I can take a look at the event codes that occurred for ASP.NET 2.0. I can also look at COM applications or COM Plus applications. I can expand those nodes and see any informational messages that have occurred. I can right-click and examine properties, which I can look at in my Properties window. We'll be covering the Properties window momentarily. Aside from just looking at the event log, I can also manage the event log by right-clicking on the event logs and selecting Launch Event Viewer. I'm running Vista, so this will launch the event viewer for Vista. I can look at the errors, the warnings, the information that's provided by the different event types. I can also choose to refresh the log or import a custom view. I can drill down even further and look at the Windows logs for setup, for system, and other events, and get the full robust nature of managing my event logs right within the event viewer. Again, as a best practice, it's a good idea to write any exceptions or errors or messages to the Windows event log. So let's close this. Another option in Server Explorer is to take a look at performance counters. A lot of times when I write an application, I'll want to see how that application is performing. Visual Studio 2008 comes with performance counters that have been optimized to work with the .NET framework. These performance counters are configured to allow you to look at settings for memory, networking, security, as well as working directly with web applications, such as seeing how many application restarts have occurred, how many applications are running. By working with these performance counters, you can configure your application to have the best performance. You can also add your own performance counters and tie them to specific methods. For example, you might have a method called getCustomerInformation. You might tie that directly to the usage of the CPU. Let's hook into these performance counters from our operating system. In this case, we're running Vista. So let's go to Start, Control Panel, Administrative Tools, and here we'll see Reliability and Performance Monitor. For previous versions of Windows, you'll use the Performance Monitor. Let's double-click on Reliability and Performance Monitor. This will pop up the CPU, disk, network, and memory usage. Select Performance Monitor from the left-hand screen. In this monitor, I can see the percentage of processor time being taken. By right-clicking on this graph, I can select to add counters. It will load the counters that are available on my local machine. Some of these are the ones that Visual Studio 2008 provided for me. If I scroll, I can see all the different counters that I have available, including the ASP.NET ones, and the other .NET CLR memory types. Let's customize our performance monitor with some of these counters. By clicking on the little arrow button, I can see all the different options that I have in terms of memory. Scrolling down, I can see the same for any of the other providers, such as active server pages. I can see a counter for application restarts. I might find this particularly useful and may choose to add this by clicking the Add button to my screen. If I'm using SQL Server, I may want to see the connects per second. I can add this as well. And you can customize your performance monitor based on CLR, .NET, ASP.NET, and other .NET related settings. We'll add one more, connection pools. When I'm finished, I can select OK, and now I have a customized performance monitor based on the settings I've set. If you look below, you can see all the colors are the same. Let's go ahead and change this by right-clicking and selecting Properties. By default, the color is red for application restarts. We can change this to olive and select Apply. For percentage of processor time, I'll choose a different color and select OK. And now I can see my configuration and the different lines and graphs based on color. You can see that you have a lot of flexibility by working with these performance counters that are available in the Server Explorer. Let's close out.